In the 18 years since Metroid Prime 3, I've often wondered what Retro would do with a new entry. Games like Titanfall pushed first-person mobility forward, making it possible to imagine the fast 2D Samus working in Prime. Maybe open-world streaming could make the maps more natural and reduce the rigid reliance on rooms and doors. So much has happened in the industry that the potential seemed endless. Instead of all that, Retro tacked on some sheer garbage, a few ripped-off Arkham mechanics, and took a stab at their very own Jar Jar Binks. Oh well, I won't look a gift horse in the mouth. The game is fantastic when it's just being more Metroid Prime, but it takes a lot of cues from 3 and veers into the wrong territory too often. That game saw Retro loosening their commitment to classic Metroid and experimenting with cinematic action, with linear gauntlets where you fought alongside Marines to clear waves of enemies. I was fine with those segments because they were short and fun, but here they relentlessly pushed the most boring, repetitive action set pieces. I was already tired of the laser sponge robots from normal gameplay, but after the 6th or 7th scripted horde attack it becomes torturous.
Let's take them down. Put them on ice. I'm down, damn it. I feel better. Put them on ice. Freeze them. Let's take care of this. They're coming for that. They are right on top of me. They're coming over the side.
There's a critical lack of enemy variety in general, with the same lizard monsters populating practically every room and every area of the map. After fighting hundreds, I had to just freeze or boost ball through them to avoid losing my mind. Then an entire area of the game was a marathon horde rush of them.
They're coming out of the wall.
Keep them off me, okay? Buy me some time!
Get up here. You require assistance.
When people were skeptical about Prime 1 being a first-person shooter, this is what they were afraid of. Retro for some reason thought 80% of the game should be shooting these 2 enemies, over and over and over again. Their way of shaking things up is a rain event that makes the enemies green. And if that's not enough variety for you, how about that same thing again? You have no idea how green these enemies can get. People wondered if the Samus cycle would come to Mario Kart. It turns out Mario Kart came to Prime 4. It's a little surreal to see a post-race result screen like this in a Metroid game. I'm not saying Retro jumped the shark, but they're at least hopping a cod. You could view the bike as being Retro's way of finally adding the speed booster, and it can be a lot of fun to use, but it often brought back Arkham Knight memories. The 2 enemy types in the desert will harass you when on foot, forcing you to get on the bike and take them out so you can resume exploring. The bike will glitch and get stuck on objects it should break. It has constant targeting problems, and often snaps the camera to something behind you instead of scanning what's directly ahead. It's not quite as bad as the Batmobile, and I think it is a net addition to the game, but it is not a clean execution. So what do you do with this new bike? Crystals. 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 Crystals! The open-world desert is exactly as dire as it looked in the trailers. There are no surprises, no sense of discovery. Every rock formation hides just a rock formation. A shitload of nothing stretching for miles. A motorcycle jump to a hidden area only reveals more crystals. 80% of the game is horde rushes and the other 80% is crystals.
I can't know how to hear any more about crystals!
So these must be really important, right? After finding 25%, you get 1 useful beam upgrade, and after that it's not worth bothering. 75% unlocks crystals on the radar, which as you can see is an unhelpful blob until you get close enough to plainly see one anyway. There are only 2 other things to find in this wasteland. The Federation outposts, which are so samey I had to check the map to know if I'd already found them, and the underground shrines, which are also copied and pasted. The shrines contain useful charging upgrades, but the most you'll find at the outposts is a missile tank. These pickups used to be tucked into every corner. Now they command an entire square mile of the map. You can't access any of this at the start of the game, so my advice to those who haven't played is wait until you get the first grapple and beam upgrades before doing anything in the desert. Otherwise it's a sheer waste of time. Open world design has not been applied anywhere else. The maps are built the exact same way as the old Primes. Rooms and doors, with the same kind of loading animations for trams and elevators. There was room to evolve these maps without going full open world, but I don't mind the old-fashioned design. In fact, I really miss this kind of gameplay. Structured maps with dense content and a controlled pace are refreshing in the wake of so much open-world bloat. It's been creeping into every Nintendo IP like a virus, and while it's nice that this game wasn't fully consumed by it, it still has to be said that Soul Valley is the most pathetic, watered-down open world I've ever seen. It's not just unappealing to explore. It's like a void that makes the real areas feel totally disconnected from one another, not unlike how Skyward Sword's open sky related to its surface areas. Zelda goes hand in hand with travel. Link usually suits up before an adventure, traveling by boat or horse to foreign lands. A giant open landscape suits that well. Metroid has never been about big maps or travel. It's all about density, with snake-like paths connecting power-up-filled rooms together. The worlds are more vertically stacked than horizontally sprawling, using elevators to go floor to floor. Memorable landmarks and layouts are critical for the backtracking in these games to work. Make a map too big and the player's memory gets stretched to the breaking point. A giant, flat, empty surface is antithetical to everything Metroid is about. It also works against Retro's strength, which is surrounding and overwhelming you with the detail and care they put into environments. None of this feels like it got time in the oven. I at least hoped to get non-linear gameplay, and the game itself suggested that.
Looks like there's 3 keys left. Up to you to decide which one to go after first.
But when I set my course to the wrong area, the game panicked, as if I'd called its bluff, and told me to go somewhere else.
Have you checked out the volcano?
I pressed on anyway and hit a hard barrier. There is a linear order, which is fine, but I don't know why the developers hint otherwise. These trooper interactions were a big problem for me.
I'd love to see the chip myself, but could you wait until we get to the holo table?
They've got some questionable writing and acting choices.
Okay, I got him! Oh, what are these things? If it's okay with you, I'm gonna tag along. It might be a good idea to check the map and get our bearings.
And Samus herself sounds like someone stepped on a chihuahua every time she's hit. The troopers are also too dumb to know that you've been in the room with them for a whole cutscene and it will greet you when it ends.
Look who it is!
But I found those annoyances easy to tolerate. How the characters are used in gameplay is the problem. A giant droid constantly gets in the way and blocks shots, and the system of directing him to destroy obstacles with scanning is clumsy.
Affirmative.
You'll have to wait for troopers to catch up before opening doors.
Hold the lift.
And if they're downed in combat, you have to resuscitate them.
Samus, we got multiple troopers down.
All of them at once sometimes. And if any die, you die. These mechanics will be familiar to anyone who knows their way around a Sheva. A trooper glitched and hung a game session by getting stuck on a bridge, which led to the other trooper disconnecting from reality.
Samus, will you extend the bridge?
You see a way out of here? Hey!
That's cold.
Ow! No! Watch it! Hey! Muzzle down! Ow!
One section was really effective at building tension, setting up attacks that just didn't come, making me wonder what would. Then my trooper buddy kept calling to ask if I was still heading for the objective marker he already told me to head for, and it deflated that mood.
Samus, looks like you made it through another floor. You're getting close to the generator. Come back to the control room. I'm waiting for you upstairs.
You get unhelpful interruptions like this often.
Looks like you acquired the map to the facility. Let's take a peek. Would you like to hear that again? Oh, and don't forget to stop by the safe station. You may want to explore some of the places you've already been. If you're not sure where to go, you can always go to the next page. How you doing with the hunt for green energy crystals? Might be a good place to search for back parts. How you doing with the hunt for green energy? If you're not sure where to go, you can always... Might be a good place to search for... Keep collecting enough green energy crystals. Might be a good place to search for back page. Explore some of the places you've already been.
Even a newcomer to Metroid will probably know by the endgame that they can backtrack for items. These messages are not only insulting, but confusing and unreliable. After going to the volcano as instructed, the path dead-ended and blocked itself off several times. Instead of getting the plasma beam here, you get a chip, which has to be taken back to Mackenzie to unlock. Every beam upgrade is done this way, with the player having to ride across the desert, down the same canyon, and into the same shuttle dozens of times both ways, and the upgrade scenes themselves are unnecessarily drawn out.
It freezes things, give me a...
Retro should have allowed one fast travel point at the base if they wanted you to go there so often, but they really want to make you drive across that desert. Other power-ups are also given by troopers. The last few expansions require reloading the desert until an NPC appears in the right places. Heavy-handed guidance and lockdowns, unwelcome character interactions, and power-ups dispensed by NPCs are the mistakes that doomed Other M. And while this isn't nearly as bad, it's disappointing to see the right lessons haven't been taken from that game. After getting the plasma beam, I was finally able to enter the ice belt and get the ice chip, and after backtracking to unlock the beam, I assumed it was time to return to the volcano and clear that very conspicuous obstacle. Instead, you actually have to return to a different area to have a lava suit installed on your bike, which is not something the player can intuitively guess, especially not when the objective marker directs to the volcano. The game is full of non sequiturs like this where radio guidance would help, but it never gives it when you actually want it. Even when calling Mackenzie for hints, the advice was a general try backtracking.
It's a wise strategy to revisit the places you've already been when you acquire a new ability.
Rather than grinding through old areas, I found fucking around in the desert for a while eventually led to the marker being given.
Have you explored Vault Forge using your new abilities?
Here's a hot tip. Just go to Vault Forge every time the game's momentum dies and you'll probably be right. Metroid has had a wide variance in the quality of its guidance and map systems, and while this is better than Fusion and Other M, it's still on the bottom half of the list. But it's important to remember that every sequel has been compromised somehow. Echoes had its monotonous dark world that slowed the pace down, while Corruption had its cartoonish story, tacked on hyper mode, and linear action. If you could still love those games, you'll at least like this one. When it isn't foisting robots or sweet hogs on you, it's actually a joy to play. It felt like a dream come true even. A Retro Studios game in 4K 60 FPS is a sight to behold, and the talent of their artists hasn't diminished one bit. They can still make a random tunnel between rooms into a jaw-dropping moment. They still have clever puzzles that leave you to do intuitive problem solving, and without pestering you with radio hints. Their artists can turn almost anything into a... I'm gonna blur that. Fire the guy that keeps doing this. The soundtrack was done by Minako Hamano and Kenji Yamamoto, the same duo that did Super Metroid. And while it's admittedly not the most memorable score, it is excellent. I really hope they do the next 2D game as well, because it's clear how much dread was missing after playing this. The game has very aggressive HDR with mixed results. First of all, it's fake. The high amount of clipping gives that away, and I was able to reproduce Retro's curve on Switch 1 captures pretty closely. In fact, if I didn't tell you this was a split screen, I wonder if you'd notice. That means there's no new highlight detail in HDR. This is a Switch 1 game, so that's fair. The curve is at least more convincing than what Mario Kart and Donkey Kong used, and it adds genuine impact to the visuals. The problem is that it's overbright, with text at 600 candelas and even 1,000 during the credits. This isn't even a matter of taste. Nobody wants fonts lasered into their eyes. The gameplay looks good during the day when ambient light can leak in, but it's blinding in a dark room at night. Retro could improve it by locking the text to 200 and adding a more relaxed night mode option. Something like this. The controls have excellent depth and flexibility. Almost everything you could want is here. Dual analog with gyro is tried and true, but you can also mimic Wii aiming with the Joy-Cons. It's more convincing than in Prime Remastered thanks to the new drift-resistant sensors, and you now get the full conduit-level customization the Wii games never had. Mouse mode works decently, but the Joy-Con is just not a good mouse. The grip needed to keep it upright makes movement too stiff, and I was prone to mashing the buttons. Shell attachments do fix most of that, allowing fast movements without fear of tipping, but the cursor has a slight float even at full sensitivity and with acceleration off. In comparison, Prime Hack feels perfectly sharp. This lock-on cursor lag is most severe with the gyro and dual stick mode, and it happens with both the Pro and Joy-Cons. I could not stop fiddling with the settings and there was no fix. It was bad enough that I avoided locking on period, but this meant I couldn't sidestep attacks. Some bosses also force free aim sequences that feel unplayable. Grappling also locks into this mode, with the gyro unable to move the camera like it normally does. There's nothing wrong with the input itself. Switch over to pointer mode and the cursor is perfectly responsive. I had to do this throughout the game to make certain sections playable. If anyone from Retro sees this, first, sorry for being mean, and please just make the dual stick cursor behave like the pointer one when locked on. I don't play these games for story, but it's hard not to comment on this one. Right out of the gate, there's too much shit to scan. I don't need to know the backstory of a barricade, or to confirm that every individual monitor of every decorative terminal is offline. If you have an OCD streak, these filler targets bog the pace down quite a bit, and for the first time I felt these games would be better without the mechanic. Prime 1 at least had great lore that enhanced the story, but I was shocked to see the first real journal entry here was halfway through the game. There's almost no substance to be found, but you're forced to scan more than ever to see the ending. This is a spoiler, but I suggest watching anyway because there's not much to spoil. Prime 3's post-credit teaser roped us into doing something with Sylux, and no one seemed enthusiastic about it, including Retro. He barely shows up, and the few times he does, he's revealed to be a decoy. The ending was the one chance to make something of the character, and the game just does nothing. There's no explanation of his plan or what any of this was about. Unless you achieve 100% scan and item completion, in which case you get to see a snippet of his backstory. Making this a bonus is insane to me. It would be like Abby's motive in The Last of Us 2 being a post-credit bonus for getting all the quarters. You don't do this with critical story payoffs. The decision makes a lot more sense when considering the $30 amiibo unlocks the scene. Gotta paywall something, fuck it, how about the ending of the game? It was brought to my attention that I manifested this in an old video. Nintendo will be emboldened to go even further next time, maybe lock the ending of the game behind an amiibo. And that is now about where we are. Fuck this. Beyond is handily the worst Prime, but that doesn't mean it's a bad game. A great sequel is in there, but Retro also wants to give you a museum tour of unpopular mechanics from over the years. If you aren't enough of a fan to have already bought it, and have already played Prime Remastered, which you should absolutely buy over this, I'd give it a shaky recommendation, but I'll probably never replay it, and I'm not sure I want a Prime 5 if this is the direction Retro continues in. A Famitsu interview has revealed that Retro was apparently no longer equipped to build a game at this scale and had to rely on subcontractors. They knew the open world hub was weak, but it was too late to do anything about it. It seems they had to just grind on with what they had to avoid development hell. The studio clearly still has the talent to make a great Prime game, and with a clean slate next time, maybe they can right the ship. But this one got far off the mark.
Go, go, go! Move, move!
My brain says it's a 6, but my biased heart says it's an 8, so I'll leave it at 7.
Samus, you can reach new areas by going places you haven't been before. Samus, you should avoid getting hit by enemy attacks. Samus, you can move around by using the buttons and sticks. Give it a shot. Samus, did you know you can turn the Switch system on by using the power button? Samus, you can breathe by inhaling oxygen into your lungs. Just don't forget to push it back out. Samus, did you know you can turn the Switch system off by using the power button? Try it out some.